Hey, what's going on, guys? So, time has a weird way of normalizing things. That's a point that I've made in videos before, and specifically within the realm of Marvel and DC, the longer a status quo sticks around, the further it wedges itself into the overall tapestry of the Marvel and DC universe respectively. Case in point, Red Hood. By now, Jason Todd has been DC's discount Punisher not only longer than he was ever Robin, but longer than he was ever dead. And regardless of the fact that to this day, I think it was a mistake to bring him back, at this point, he is so firmly rooted into the mythology of the DC universe that I may as well just be an old man yelling at the clouds. And honestly, same goes for Bucky Barnes as far as I'm concerned. Granted, I think Ed Brubaker's Captain America stuff was really good, especially compared to the end of the Red Hood stuff, but nobody after him really got what I think he was going for with Bucky, and at this point, Bucky may as well not even be around anymore, but there is no goddamn way Marvel's gonna let that happen now because the Winter Soldier is a pop culture icon and a household name. And I say all of this to say, Peter Parker post One More Day is almost a completely different character to his pre-One More Day counterpart. Like, it wasn't just the marriage that got erased. The way writers approached the character was, and is, fundamentally different. From 1962 to 2007, Peter Parker had a very particular voice. He was a hothead with a quick temper. He had a very sardonic sense of humor. In a lot of ways, he was a grumpy old man trapped in a 20-something-year-old's body. And he had a very specific rapport with the larger superhero community. Like, he got along with Daredevil and Doctor Strange, and he was kind of that, like, crackhead cousin to the Fantastic Four, but he had a somewhat combative relationship with the X-Men. He did not like the Avengers, and the feeling was quite mutual. And Peter was just not a team player. And then you get One More Day, or I guess Brand New Day, and not only was the marriage gone, but so was that characterization of Peter Parker. Now he's a full-fledged Avenger. I mean, granted, he was beforehand with the JMS Spider-Man stuff with Ron Garney and Bendis and Finch's New Avengers, but his dynamic with the Avengers was different, and so was his dynamic with the rest of the Marvel Universe. Because instead of being that guy with the off-color sense of humor who nobody knows invited to the cookout, now he's the kid of the Marvel Universe. This 40-year-old kid who graduated high school in 1965. This kid who doesn't know how to ask out women despite being a fuckboy Casanova throughout college. This kid with a timid, awkward, generically unproblematic, and intentionally unfunny sense of humor. This kid who's now the keystone of an entire spider family, which kind of makes him feel like Diet Flash. This kid has essentially been the Spider-Man of the comics for the past, 17, 18 years? Regardless of how you feel about it, this is Spider-Man now. And this has been Spider-Man for pretty much an entire generation. And that's been further cemented by various adaptations and external media pulling specifically from this material and this modern take on the character. The Insomniac games are, for all intents and purposes, a more cinematic approach to Dan Slott's run on Spider-Man. That first game is heavily influenced by Brand New Day. There's even little setups for Superior Spider-Man with Doc Ock, everything with Yuri Watanabe, Mr. Negative, Peter and MJ having been broken up, Peter working at a think tank. That's all very Dan Slott. You know, Spider-Verse as a concept has been a massive cultural touchstone in the Spider-Man zeitgeist. Not that Spider-Man is a stranger to multiverse stuff, but specifically everything with the Web of Destiny and the Spider Society, where Spider-Man is, again, basically just the Flash now. That's all pulling from more modern comics. I mean, for God's sake, the third film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe Spider-Man trilogy is a hybrid adaptation of Spider-Verse and One More Day. Now, regardless of whether you like it or not, This is modern Spider-Man. And again, it's been 18 or so years? A generation is largely considered to be anywhere between 15 and 30 years. So, an entire generation has pretty much grown up with the post One More Day Spider-Man as their de facto Spider-Man. And it's funny because I feel like I can sympathize with guys like Mark Waid and Jeff Johns and Grant Morrison and Kurt Busiek a little more, because these are guys who really don't like John Byrne and post-crisis Superman. The Superman who was effectively the template model for the Bruce Timm, Alan Burnett DC Animated Universe Superman, Zack Snyder's Superman, the Superman from the Superman and Lois TV show, and from the looks of it, the upcoming James Gunn Superman. You know, where Lex Luthor is an evil billionaire instead of a cave-dwelling mad scientist. Jonathan and Martha Kent are key supporting characters instead of being long dead. Clark Kent is who he is, and Superman is what he can do. And Clark and Lois simply being married. You know, this is all pretty much standard Superman fare for anyone under 40. But for anyone who grew up with pre-crisis Superman, all of these changes were absolute heresy to the highest degree and ruined the character henceforth. And that's pretty much where we are with Spider-Man. Civil War and One More Day was effectively Spider-Man's Crisis on Infinite Earths, with Dan Slott more or less being Spider-Man's John Byrne. And again, like I said, this is just what Spider-Man is now. And that's really weird to come to grips with. Part of that is just the growing up process and watching your favorite characters evolve, sometimes in ways we don't like, but that's just the nature of comics, I guess. And I would be interested to see if, in the next 5 to 10 years, the generation that grew up with pre-One More Day Spider-Man gets into comics and basically does what guys like Mark Waid and Kurt Busiek and Jeff Johns and even Grant Morrison did with Superman, where you get these runs on the character that are hinged almost entirely on fixing the character and taking Spider-Man back to what he was when they grew up with him, or at the very least, trying to reincorporate as many aspects of classic Spider-Man into modern Spider-Man's mythology. In fact, many would argue that's exactly what Nick Spencer's run on Amazing Spider-Man was, and that got shut down real fast. But I'd be interested to see if we see more of that in the future. I don't know. But those are just my thoughts. But what about you? Let me know down below in the comments section. Also, if you like this video, hit the like button, share, support the channel, and if you want to see more content like this, all you gotta do is subscribe. I'm the Mystical Green Beanie. Thank you for watching, and as always, until next time, take care, guys.